Can you see my slide?
Yes, can.
Okay. So today we'll be having the second part of our training on questionnaire development, validation, and the ethical use. In our previous training, the first workshop, where the theoretical aspect of the topic was extensively discussed. So today we are going to look at how we can explore some statistical analysis to validate those questionnaire items. As we were told last time, that even though, you are adapting a questionnaire, that there is still need for you to validate that questionnaire, despite the fact that you are adapting it. Because the lecturer cited an example that there could be cultural differences, there could be language differences, that all these issues will account for you to revalidate in your research setting. And he gave us an example where he was trying to adapt a questionnaire that was designed to be used for about 60 countries of the world. So that is the reason why you have to validate in your own context, because the language, even that, if you are developing the item, sometimes there's some language you can use that if you say A in Nigeria, it may not be A in Ghana, because the sound or the implication of that same words, it could mean different contexts. So because of that, it's therefore necessary that questionnaire should be validated. So all this will explain, and how we can also adapt, and how we can also develop some of these items following the ethical rules in terms of citing properly those that should be cited. All this was explained in the first workshop. The person that will anchor the workshop for us is no any other person than Dr. Kunle Anyawale. Dr. Kunle Anyawale is currently a senior postdoctoral research fellow at the Department of Mathematics, Science and Technology Education at the University of Johannesburg, South Africa. He is also a senior lecturer at the Department of Educational Foundation, National University of Lesotho, Lesotho. He hold a PhD in educational research, measurement, and evaluation, and this certifies him as an expert in assessment and psychometrics. He also obtained a lot of certification in the area of statistics from such as University of Michigan, US, Johns Hopkins University, United States. And these statistical tools include Python and R programming language. His research interests include testing theories, instrument development and validation, psychometrics, generalizability, theory-based reliability analysis and evaluation, AI in education, Q methodology, structural equation modeling, and computerized adaptive testing. His current research involves advancing technological solution assessment for the purpose of developing a more effective and efficient method of educational assessment in Africa. So we kindly welcome Dr. Anyokunle on board. For those of us that maybe may be interested in watching some in the previous video, you can go to Client Aspire YouTube channel, we can watch, and then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. In brief, Client Aspires is a research consultancy company, and these are some of the activities that we carry out. Part of it is we have research and publication consultancy. You want to publish your paper, you have an issue, where do we publish? All those things, we can give you an advice on it. We also have international and local admissions. We assist students. If you want to travel abroad, we can assist you to get admission and also get all those other processes Part of our services also include capacity development programs, which we are doing now. Then we also have school-based management services where we can assist you to manage your schools, and then edutourism and travel services. If your school is intended to come for vacation, we can also assist you. Then on the research aspect, on the research and consultancy, when it comes to maybe our service under the research and consultancy entails training on thesis writing. You want to write your thesis. There are some areas where you need some training like systematic literature review. All these videos are also on our YouTube page. You can go and watch and learn. So these are the these are some of the highlights of some of the activities that we'll carry out when it comes to our training activities. So at this point, Dr. Ayokunle, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are listening to me. Thank you very much, Dr. Bamiro, for brief introduction. And today, this is the second session of our workshop. In the last 2 weeks, we dealt with the theoretical aspect of how to develop an effective questionnaire, validation, and the ethical use of such instrument. And we looked at it extensively, fix and fix with how you validate your instrument and how you establish the exploratory factor analysis, though we have factor analysis, which actually divided into two. We have the exploratory factor analysis and we have confirmatory factor analysis. So if you are developing a questionnaire, you are expected to establish some of these methods. And we also talked about the measurement invariance, which many researchers did not look into when they develop their instrument. And it's essential that we, determine how some of these items function or varies, across subgroup, whether it performs the same function or probably there are kind of difference the way the item function between those groups. Mostly for some of us in test and measurement, we normally use differential item functioning, which is a cognitive instrument, to establish the structural validity of that particular scale. Okay, so today we want to look at the step-by-step approach to establish exploratory factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, and multiple group confirmatory factor analysis. If you're able to do this when you are developing your questionnaire, I think you be lucky or you have chance to publish your work in a very reputable outlet. So permit me to share my screen so that we can start this section. Please, if you can see my screen, kindly signify. Can you see my screen? Dr. Bamiro, is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Oh, okay, okay. I just
But nothing
need
is showing up. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the desktop page.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the confirmation. So this is the data we are going to use. Is an hypothetical data. Let me open the data in SPSS spreadsheet. You can also input your data using a Excel spreadsheet. And I believe after our administration of our instrument, after you develop your instrument, you have to administer it maybe through online or physical administration. Then there is need for you to, if you administer it manually, that is physically using paper and pencil method, you still need to do what I call data coding. So you need to code your data into either SPSS spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet. But I always prefer the online survey administration because it will be easier for you to affect all your responses at your own convenience without necessarily passing through all the orders of inputting your data one after the other. And another thing is it will minimize the level of missiness that you can or can be evidence on your data set. So when you use Google Form or SurveyMonkey or Quatrace or any of these online survey web, then there is high chance that you have adequate and minimal missing values in your data set, especially when you compulsory, you make each of the items compulsory as required. So if the respondent did not fill the first item, there is no way they can move to the second item. So this actually reduces or minimize the number of missing data that you can see in your data. And when you are doing either confirmatory or exploratory or what have you, it's more of covariance. In structural equation modeling, we have two types. We have what we call variance-based structural equation modeling, which is more of non-parametric approach, and we have the covariance-based structural equation modeling. And for covariance structural equation modeling, there are assumptions that you need to follow in terms of normality, in terms of missingness, you ensure that there is no outlier in your data set. You establish either univariate or multivariate normality, and so on and so forth. So there are so many assumptions, and even the sample size adequacy is also important when you are doing covariance-based. However, even in variance-based also, the sample size is also very important. So today, we have this item. I believe you can see my SPSS spreadsheet. And in the course of this workshop, we are going to make use of two softwares, the Statistical Package for Social Sciences, which is SPSS, and AMOS. We believe that these two software has what is it called it? Graphical users interface. So it's easy, it's point and click. So it's easy for all the participants to follow the procedure on how to establish some of these things. And another advantage you attending this workshop is if you don't have any of this software, feel free to reach out to the organizer. I'm going to provide the setup for some of this software free without paying a dime. And I'm going to guide you on how to do the installation and so on and so forth. So that at the end of the day, you should be able to practicalize some of these things, on your own. And that is one of the goals of this I don't know if it is an association or complaint, I don't know, but that is one of the goals, you understand, to upscale and, reskilling their participants. So this is the spreadsheet we are going to use, and this is the data. So in this data, we have item 1, 2, 3 up to item 21, and we have gender as a nominal variable, which varies at 2 levels, either male or female. Is here, and I believe we all know how to do this, so I don't need to lay emphasis on how to do data coding again. And when you look at item 1 here, it is measured using 5-point Likert, and this mean that each of the items, they followed ordinal scale of measurement, and that is why you look at the measure here. It's indicated as what? Ordinal. So you see ordinal, 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 and the last one, which is the last variable, is what is nominal. So it is important that when you input your data, when you code your data, make sure that you specify the measure. When you click on the measure, when you click here, it's going to ask you, is this item a scale, ordinal, or nominal? And don't forget that we have 4 types under the scale of measurement. We have the ordinal, nominal, we have interval, and the ratio scale. But what SPSS does was to match both the ratio and the interval to become a scale. That's why you see scale. So if your data follows either interval or ratio, then you can pick scale. Then we have the ordinal and we have the nominal. So that is the essence of this measure. So it's important that when you input your data, make sure that you indicate the nature of the data, what is the measurement scale. So that is why we have this. And as you look at each of the items, it's more of a non-cognitive instrument. Probably you are developing your questionnaire or a new scale on a particular phenomenon, or probably on a particular concept. You are developing scale on the attitude towards malnutrition, or student engagement to mathematics, interest in a particular subject, and so on and so forth. Or you can even develop a scale measuring happiness, measuring passion, and so on and so forth. So all these items actually measured this concept. So like I said earlier, this is an hypothetical data, and it's not pre-existing data. It's just an hypothetical data. And one thing I want to tell you today is that when you are developing a new scale, even if you go both deductive and inductive approach, don't classify or categorize each of the items that measuring a particular subconstruct of that scale. You'll be subjective when you are doing this. So what I normally advise people is, since you are developing a new scale, make sure you come up with pool of items, an array of items, diverse items, and that is why it's important that you go both inductive and deductive. So when you use this method, it's going to give you a holistic view on nature of items that you are going to develop to measure that particular construct. Like the example I gave the other time in our first session, where we developed a scale measuring student attitude towards mathematics word problem. And initially, from our inductive and deductive approach, we were able to come up with about 145 items And we develop that items, sequentially like that, 1, 2, 3, up to, 145. Despite the fact that when we read, literature deductively, we realize that there are some theories that actually underlie the attitude towards mathematics word problem, and there are elements, there are components that we can say that, oh, these are likely subconstruct of attitude towards mathematics word problem. But we did not follow that path or that route. So what we did was to, close our eyes and develop items across board. So we want that is the essence of exploratory factor analysis, because you want the exploratory factor analysis to actually determine the structure for you. So if you've now decided the structure, then you now said, oh, I'm doing exploratory factor analysis. You are not doing exploratory factor analysis any longer, because already you've decided the structure yourself. Probably you said, based on what you read in the literature, okay, this particular scale that you are developing is going to have maybe 6 or 5 sub-constructs, and then you develop items based on each of these constructs. Then after that, you now come back, you said you want to do exploratory factor analysis. So the essence of doing exploratory factor analysis has been defeated in the first place. So, and I've seen many scholars, doing this, and it's a big fallacy. So please, ladies and gentlemen, when you are developing a scale, please make sure that you did not establish the structure earlier before you bring into exploratory factor analysis. Let the method establish the structure. Either you use parallel analysis or your own analysis or any of this analysis to determine that structure for you. And that is why you will see that today, it's like I have, what is it called? I developed 21 items measuring a particular concept. Are you getting my point? Now, we want to establish the structure, the dimensions that underline this scale, so that at the end of the day, we'll say that, oh, these are the items. When we look at the items that loaded under factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 4. So we look at each of them, and at the end of the day, we will now come up with appropriate constructs. We'll give it a name, those items, based on each of the factor. So we have this, and then we have the data like this, which runs from item 1 to item 21, like I showed the other time. So with gender, which is a demographic variable, you can have more than that. You can have a school location, you can have, religion, you can it depends on what you want to achieve, in that study. Then having said that, this is the items, and then we proposed that we have 360 respondents. So my assumption here is that these 21 items, were administered to 360 respondents. And like I said earlier, sample size adequacy is very, very important. And during my last presentation, I gave you ways by which you can determine the sample size adequacy in terms of cases per parameters. Clean 2023 suggested that you can use 1:5, 1:5 or 1:10, 1:20, either of the three. And there are other ways by which you can even determine the sample size adequacy for a particular study like this. You can even use G-power analysis. There are so many ways by which you can, determine the sample size. So, and it is important that you have a reasonable sample size for this kind of study. Now this is our data set, and after that you need to establish to look at, is there missingness, is there any outlier, and so on and so forth. So to do that, you just go to analyze, and you click on descriptive, just click on frequency, and then you Control-Shift, Control-A, just Control-A all the items, and then bring it into this box. Then, because you want to look at the frequency count, so there is no need to look at to check the descriptive statistics or chart or whatever. So let's just click OK, because we want to check whether there is evidence of missing data or not. And then when you look at this, this is the summary of the statistics for all the items. You can see that the missingness is what is 0 or true. So meaning that there is no missing values. So if peradventure in your own data there are evidence of missing values, there are ways by which we can establish the missingness of our in our data set. And we still have different types of missing data. It can be missing, not complete at random. I mean, yes, it can be missing not at random, missing complete at random, and missing at random. So those are the three types of missing values that you have. So it depends on the nature of the missingness that you have in your data that will determine which approach or which method you are going to use to undo the missing data. But there are simple ways by which probably maybe replacement using mean, listwise method, and imputation method. It can be, multiple imputation, which is of Bayesian approach. You can use the regression approach, expectation maximization method, the Markov chain, and so on and so forth. So there are different methods that which you can use, and each of them also has their own advantage and disadvantages. So also we look at each of the items. When we look at it, I think there is no evidence of missing in all the items. So once we are done with this, then let's check. We talked about normality assumption the other time, which is also very important, but I'm going to show you how to do that on Amos. You can check the normality assumptions, either using Malanome's, what is it called it, index, to check that on Amos. I'm going to show you that. So let's do exploratory factor analysis on SPSS first. And then after that, we move to the structure that we are going to identify here. We will now move it to Amos for the confirmatory factor analysis and other analysis that we want to do. Now, to do exploratory factor analysis, what you will do, you go to analyze, and then you come to dimension reduction. And like I said the other time, that is the essence of doing factor analysis, is for what? Dimension reduction. We want to see the number of dimensions that actually underline the data in terms of the factor structure. So you click on factor. Can you see it? So you hit the factor. So when you hit the factor, this box will pop up, and then just press Ctrl-A to highlight all the items. Then you bring the items here. Don't forget that we have demographic variable gender included, so we don't need this now. So we need to remove it. So now we have all our items in this box. So the next thing is come to descriptive box. So when you get to this descriptive, you will see different things there. We have the univariate descriptives, initial solution, coefficients, significance levels, determinants, KMO and Bartlett test, inverse, and so on and so forth. So most times I just check the KMO and Bartlett test sphericity to determine the adequacy of our sample size and whether the Bartlett test of sphericity, is going to be significant or non-significant, and also to determine how sufficient the items are enough, for this factor analysis, and whether there is correlation between those items. So you hit the continue button, then we move to extraction, and then under this extraction, you will see that we have method, we have principal component. There are several methods you can use under the extraction method. We have the principal component, which is the first method of extraction there. You have unweighted least squares, we have generalized least squares, we have maximum likelihood, principal ax factoring, alpha factoring, and image factoring. And this is another a way that you can even come up with a paper, looking at whether each, or let me say, different methods of extraction, produce similar results or the same result. So at the end of the day, you can advise or make recommendation. If it produces similar results, you can say, okay, irrespective of any method of factor analysis extraction that you use, you're still going to arrive at the same result, or probably if there are discrepancies in terms of the results, then you can make your recommendation so that scholars will know that, okay, yes, if I want to do exploratory factor analysis, I need to use this method of extraction. But in the literature, I've seen people using principal components and the principal ax factoring. So these two are the most pronounced ones that I've seen a lot, that many scholars have used: principal ax factoring and principal component. But as part of ongoing research, we can also look at this, coming up with a scale, and then we subject it to different factor analysis extraction, and then we can make our recommendation based on our result. So let's stick to principal component method, which is default there. Then you will see that under the analyze, you see correlation matrix, you see covariance matrix. So why by default is correlation matrix is because we actually want to see how some of these items correlate, together in measuring the particular construct, because there must be high correlation between or among some of these items to show that, yes, they adequately measure this particular construct. And that is why by default we have the correlation matrix. And the one thing is why it's one of the, let me say, deficiency of using SPSS anyway for this kind of analysis. If you are using other software like R programming language, R will not use correlation matrix, but rather is going to use a polychoric correlation matrix to generate the engine values. But here, the SPSS will actually make use of correlation matrix to establish the engine values that is going to, give the total variance explained by each of the factor. So we check the screen plot. Screen plot is very important to, that is another way by which you can determine the number of factors using the elbow. Are you getting my point? So the screen plot visual is also very important. Then under the extract, based on NG values greater than 1, this is a particular method. But for now, let's just leave it, because we don't know yet how many factors or how many dimensions we are going to see in this data. So here you will see fixed number of factors to extract. But now that we've not established it, and that is why I said the other time that those people that normally establish the structure before, doing exploratory factor analysis, when they get to this point, they will just put the number of structure that they've identified, and that is subjective to me, and that is my position. So it's better that you allow the software to do it in a scientific way so that you will see that, oh, these items are actually, when I look at the meaning of each of the items that are loaded under each factor, then I can give it a particular name that actually, align with and resonate with those items that are loaded under each of the factors. So for now, let's just put one. We assume that all the engine values should be what? Should be 1, the factors, right? So we assume that is 1. So we don't know the number of factors. Then you will click on continue. Then you move to rotation. Rotation is also very important when you are doing factor analysis. And we have 2 types of rotation. We have the orthogonal and we have the oblique. So when you look at it, under the orthogonal, we have the ferry mass, and then we have the Q mass, we have the equimass, and then under the oblique, we have the promass. So these are the 2 methods of rotation when you are doing factor analysis. So first, what we determine the choice of either ferry mass or direct oblique. Some scholars in the literature, it says for you to go for orthogonal, it means there is no correlation. If you go for orthogonal, it means there is no correlation, among those items. And they give an index of less than 0.2. Some give an index of less than 0.5. So if the component matrix, gives less than 0.5 or less than 0.2, then it means that the items, did not correlate very well. So you can go for orthogonal matrix, which is what? Very mass. And then the other one is what? Is oblique, which we assume that the items correlated very well. So when the items correlated very well with an index of either greater than 0.5 or 0.2, then you can conclude that yes, the oblique method will be the appropriate. So what I normally do is that I will assume first that all the items correlate, because I believe that I've done all necessary things before I develop the items. So it is expected that all the items should correlate very well. So you check the direct oblique first. So and let's see what is going to happen. If it's otherwise, then we can come back and recheck the other method. So we hit the continue method. So after that, just leave the scores and the options in abeyance. We are coming back. Then you hit the OK button. And let's wait for the result. So this is our result for the factor extraction. And when you look at this, the first result here is called KMO and Bartlett test, which is a Questionnaire measure of sampling adequacy. So we want to use this one to actually determine our sample size adequacy. And when you look at the value of 0.908, which is very high, so this actually indicates that the data is highly suitable for factor analysis. Well, from values from above 0.8 is considered excellent. So when you have from 0.8, even some scholars say 0.75 and above, it is considered, excellent. So when you have this, then you know that yes, the data is suitable for the factor analysis. And then when you move away from that Questionnaire measure of sample adequacy, we have the Bartlett test of sphericity, and we have the chi-square of 4218.377, and then we have the degree of freedom of 210, and the significance is 0.00. And then what we are looking for here, it has to be significant. If it is not significant, then there is an issue. And the implication of Bartlett test of sphericity is that it suggests that the correlation between those items are sufficient, to proceed with what? With factor analysis, because we actually reject the null hypothesis that the correlation matrix is an identity matrix. Are you getting my point? That the correlation matrix, and you remember that I told you the reason for that default of correlation matrix when I checked the options there. So that is the interpretation of the KMO and Bartlett test of sphericity. Now you have communality. Communality also is another things that you need to look at or let me say index that you need to look at when you are doing factor analysis. First and foremost, when you look at the extraction based on each of the items here, you will look at it, I think you hardly see anyone that is below 0.5. All of them are above 0.5, or let me say 0.4. So if you have 0.4 as one of the extraction here index, then I will advise that you remove such item right from here. You go back, you remove it, then you rerun the analysis. Why it is important is because of when you get to a point where you establish the validity and the reliability of the scale. So when you have low communality, then it can affect your results there. And initially, all items, have the communality of just one, like you see 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Are you getting my point? Which indicates the total variance for each of the items that is considered for this extraction. So the first one now is 0.513, which is item 1. So this one is telling you that about 51.3% of its variance is explained by what? By this variable or items. Let me repeat myself again. This one indicates that about 51.3% of its variance, it is explained by what? By the item 1. And this one, item 2, about 72.4% of its variance is explained by this item 2. Okay. So, and when you look at this one, you will see that the communality is very close to what? Is very close to 1. So, which is telling you that even this item is even, perform better than the first item, like that. So that is how you interpret the communality. Then moving away from that, we move to total variance explained. This total variance explained is also very important, and this is where you will determine the dimensions that underline your data. And remember that under by default, when we want to what is it called it? Indicate the number of factors extracted. We left that place open, but we assume that all of them, we assume that it's just one factor. That is why you see 1 in that box first. But now the analysis is telling us that yes, we have some scholars says that the engine values, when the component is greater than 1, then you can conclude that these such factors, can be retained. So when you look at this one now, you will see that which is 8.242, then we have 39.25% of the variance, explained by factor 1. Also, moving to the second one, which is 2.451, which is also greater than 1. And the implication of this is that the component 2, explain 11.67. You look at the percentage of variance, 11.670, and so on and so forth. So when you look at this one now, you will see that if you want to go by the rules that says greater than, the engine values must be greater than 1. So based on the engine values that are greater than 1, that will determine how many factors that actually, suffice for that data. So when you look at this, we have factor 1, which is component 1, 2, 3, 4. I get my point. When you look at this one, is 0.85, which is less than 1. So automatically we can conclude that we have in this scale, we have 4 factors, 4 dimensions that underline this. Also, I also want us to use another method to determine that before we go on, which we are going to compare the results on what is it called it? The result, which is more, this is parallel analysis. So the result we got on the SPSS, then which is more of the experimental data, the engine value for the experimental data. So we are going to compare it with random generated engine values. And then if the engine values from the experimental data is greater than that of the random generated engine values, you understand, then such component of factor can be or retained. So let's go online. You just
We can't
put,
see your screen.
can you see my screen?
We can't see your screen. Yes, we can't. We can't see your screen.
We are just seeing the Google.
Yes, yes, Google.
Yes. I've moved from
Okay.
the result. Yes, I just want to show you something online. So let's say you said online, just type online parallel analysis. Okay, yes, online parallel analysis. So when you have this, then click on the first one. You see parallel analysis engine. So click on parallel analysis engine. So you are going to have this. It's a parallel analysis engine to aid determining number of factors to retain. This is according to, okay, yeah. So this is the page. This is how it's going to look like. Citing this application. So if you want to cite it, it's partly Fickett et al. 2017 parallel analysis engine to aid this. So you can cite this, as method. And then what they did is more of, that is what we call Shiny package in R. So instead of writing the code to do this in R, so they're using Shiny to make it more point and click graphical users interface for those that have phobia for writing codes and so on and so forth. So we have this, so you can read more about the usage of application and all that. So this is where I'm coming. So we have the parallel analysis. You have number of variables in your data set to be factor analyzed. Please change. So how many variables do you have? So let's go back to our SPSS. We have how many variables? We have 21. Please don't include the demographic variable because we are not, factor analyze the demographic variable. So we have 21 items. Then we'll come back and then we'll change this one. Just put 21 there because that's 21 items. The sample size of your data set, please change. So what's the sample size? Our sample size is 360. So if your own is 700 or 1000, you will put appropriately. Type of analysis is principal component. Why I retain principal component? Yeah, it's because when we did here also, we use principal component, method of extraction. So it is advisable that you retain principal component also. The number of random correlation matrices to generate default of 100 correctly set. So some scholars suggested 500, some suggested 1000, but from 500 and above. But for me, I normally use 500, but you can use 1000 or whatever. Then percentile of engine values, default of 95th percentile correctly set. So just leave it as 95th percentile. Then the seed here. The seed is very important because this is a random, this application makes use of random generation numbers. So if you change this seed to, let's say 2000, for instance, then the result you are going to have is going to not the same with those that use, let's say 1000 or use 5000. And you get, and that's why when you are in R, if you are writing a code and you want people to replicate or to use the same code in order to generate the same result that you've generated earlier, so you need to indicate the seed. So if you are using 400, for instance, you must make sure that you use 400 in order to get the same result. So if you change the seed to, let's say, 1000, then the result you are going to get will be different from the initial result that you got. So by default is 1,000. Let's just leave it as 1,000. I get it. And as you are inputting it, it's generating the result. So here now, this is the result as we have it. We have the component of factors. We have factor 1. And when you look at it, we have 21 items. That's why we have factors or components up to what? 21. Excuse me. Now, we have the mean engine value. This is the engine value for each of the components of factor, and this is the percentile engine value. So what we are interested in is this one. We are interested in this one. Are you getting my point? So if you want to use this application to establish the number of factors or structure, or component. So what you are going to do is you are going to present this table and this table. We are going to present this here alone. This one, you can see that we have 21 also, so we are going to present this. So what we are going to do now is to compare the engine values from our experimental data, which is this one, with the random generated engine values, which is this one, because this one is parallel analysis. So we are doing parallel analysis to establish the EFA. So when you look at this one, we have 1.459502. So is this one greater than the first component here or less than? So when you look at it, we have 8.242, which means that our experimental data engine value is greater than what the random number generated engine value. So the implication is that we are going to retain the first factor. This one also, the second component here is 2.451. So let's look at what we have here. We have 1.377, which is greater than this. So automatically we are going to retain the second factor. Then let's look at the third one. The third one is 1.726. Then which is also, let's look at this. We have 1.3. So it means we are going to retain that factor. Let's look at the fourth one, which is 5.581. 1.172, which is greater than one. This is 1.261547. Let's look at this. This is 1.172. And then this one says the fourth one. I think this one is greater than the fourth one there, right? This is 1.2615. Then here is 1.17. So you can see now that this one now is less than the random number generated engine values. So based on the parallel analysis now, the parallel analysis is suggesting three factors. And when you use the explorative factor analysis using the total variance explained by SPSS is suggested how many? 4. Are you getting my point? So this is why I said you need to cross-validate your result using different methods so that you will know that yes, this is an actual number of factors that underline my data. So let's go on. And then this is another way to also determine the number of factors, which is screen plot. Then when you look at this screen plot, before I talked about this, we always look at the elbow. Are you getting my point? So we look at the elbow, and then we stop at when the component begins to flatten up. So at the y-axis, we have the engine values from 0 to up to 10, like this. Then we have the component number, because we have 21 items. We have factor 1, 2, 3, up to 21. And when you look at this one, this is the first one, first factor. And you can look at Because what is it called? What SPSS does is to look at the engine value that is greater than 1. Are you getting my point? So when you look at 1 here, 1 should be around this place. This is 0, so 1 should be somewhere around this place. So you see that this one is greater than 1, this factor is greater than 1, this factor is greater than 1, and then this factor is likely to greater than 1. And then when you look at the elbow, from here now, the thing begins to what? To flatten down. So this one now is telling you that you have four what is it called, factors, or otherwise some will say 3. So it depends. And that is why I prefer using R, because R is going to give me the demarcation to say that yes, this is the demarcation. This is where the number of factors that adequately underline the structure, the scale. So let's go by 4 as suggested by the SPSS, and then we have the component matrix because it's suggested 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 based on each of the items. Then let's go and check the component, what is it called? The component correlation matrix to check whether the oblique that we checked the other time is appropriate for our rotation or not. So when you look at the component correlation matrix between the 4 components now, this is the diagonal 1, 1. You will see that we have 0.4, we have 0.2, we have 0.4, we have 0.5, 0.3, 0.3. So when you look at this one now, you will see that most of the correlation between these components is less than 0.5. Most of them. I think it's only one that is around 0.554. Are you getting my point? 0.54 and the 0.52. So others, we have 0.265, 0.431, and so on and so forth. So we can conclude that oblique might not necessarily be the correct rotation method that we are supposed to use. So we need to go for orthogonal rotation, which is very much because the correlation, most of them are less than 0.5. And that will now take us back to the factor analysis page. Now that we've identified the number of extraction, which is the number of factors, so we change this one now to 4. We are using 4. Then we hit the continue button, rotation down. We check free mass now because it's not correlated based on the component correlation matrix. Then we hit continue. And then for the scores, here you just leave this one, you don't need this one for anything except if you want to do what is it called? You want to do further, you want to do regression analysis or anything further using the same what is it called? This scale. So you can save the factor score for coefficient matrix so that you can use that for a regression. But since we are not interested in this, then you uncheck it and then you hit the continue button. Then the last one, which is the option, this is very important. I told you the other time that you have the missing values, so you can replace, if you know that there is missing values in the data, you can use replace with mean, exclude the pairwise, exclude the case listwise, you understand? So if you use the listwise method, it's going to affect the sample size. If you don't have enough sample size before, when you use the listwise method, it's going to reduce the sample size. Then if you use the replace with mean, so it's going to use the mean, it's going to estimate the mean value for the existing data, and whatever the mean value is, that is what it's going to use to replace all the missing values based on each of the column. Then, since we don't have the missing value, so we don't need anything, just leave it by default. Here, coefficient display format. So we need to check the sorted by size and then suppress small coefficient. So you need to suppress small coefficient, and then the absolute values, varies. By default is 0.10 Some scholars use 0.30, some use 0.40, some use 0.50. So it depends on how you want the loadings. Are you getting my point? The factor loadings or item loadings, how strong or stronger that you want them to be will determine this. But for me, I used to go by 0.50 or 0.40 at times. It depends, but I always prefer 0.50 so that any item loading that is below 0.5 will be suppressed. Are you getting my point? So this is it, and then you hit the continue button. Once you are done, then let's check OK now. So when you check the OK, then we have the new analysis here. Our KMO still remain the same as it was. The communality is the same thing as it was. The total variance explained is the same, which is 4. So if you want to use SPSS alone, if it's not parallel analysis approach, so you are going to present this table, as part of what is it called? The statistics you use to determine the number of factor structure for that particular scale. Then you can also present the screen plot, if it's not too much, just to also corroborate the total variance explained table that you presented earlier. Then we have the component matrix. Well, we are not interested in this. What we are interested in is rotated component matrix. This is what we are interested in. And this is, when you look at this now, this is what you are going to use to determine the, the name given to each of the factor. Now we have the component, we have factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 4. Then when you look at this factor, you will see that for factor 1 now, we have item 8, item 7, item 10, item 9, item 6, item 11 loaded under this particular factor. Then moving away from that, and you will see that there is no cross-loading of items. I told you in my last presentation, that when you have cross-loading, for instance, maybe this particular item 7 now also loaded on item 2, 3, and 4, like this. So if it does that, some scholars says look for loading with highest value. So if the highest value is 0.833, for instance, so it means that this item is more, correlated under factor 1 than in factor 2, 3, and 4. So you can retain the item. Some scholars also say, no, instead of doing that, the implication of this item is that it's never here or there. So why not remove that items completely? You remove the items completely so that it should not cause havoc going forward when you are doing further analysis. Okay. So what I normally do is to remove, once I see cross-loading of items, I used to remove such item from the rest of the items. So we have the items, loaded on each of the factors. Then what you are going to do now is to look at, okay, before that, Tabarnik and Fidel, 2013, suggested that for a factor to be viable or substantial, that such factors must have at least 3 items loaded under that particular factor. At least 3. At least 3 items. So even if you have the items loaded like this, and let's say for item 1, we just have just 2 that are loaded under this factor. So the implication is that, fine, the analysis suggested 4 factors, but at the level of when you rotate the extraction, then only 3 factors, are viable, because the first factor does not have up to 3 item loadings. So you need to remove that factors, that particular factor, completely. Now, looking at each of these items, so you will now look at the items you develop now. That, okay, this item 8, what is it talking about? Item 7, what is it talking about? Item 10, 9, 6, 11, what are they talking about? So when you look at each of these items critically, that is when you can now look for a particular name to connote all the items. Are you getting my point? Probably you now say, all these items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are talking about passion. So it means that for that scale, one of the subconstruct of the scale now is what is called passion, measuring by 5 what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 items, which is item 8, item 7, item 10, item 9, item whatever. And the same way you will do for factor 2, factor 3, factor 4. So you need to look at the meaning of each of the items. And at the end of the day, you will now come up with a name, to connote that particular factor. So this is the end of what is it called? Exploratory factor analysis. So when you, at this point, you are done with, assessing the number of dimensions that actually underline the result. Yes, Kolawole, you raise up your hand. You have question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the presentation. Like when we check for that parallel analysis for the simulated data that we use that parallel engine for, that one said is 3 and the SPSS said is 4. So which one are we going for?
Yes, thank you. Like I said earlier, I said SPSS has its own limitation. Are you getting my point? And with my experience with SPSS, especially SPSS is designed for a continuous data, and most times it's usually either underestimate or overestimate, a particular statistics that you establish. So that's why I prefer using R to, because when you look at the data we use, the data is ordinal scale. Are you getting my point? Not in continuous form. So this is likely to happen because of the limitation. However, the manufacturer of IBMS now, they've come up, because they've realized some of these limitations, and that's why there are so many plugins now that you can also use to upgrade or to augment how the SPSS is being functioning. So in fact, you can even add R plugin to what is it called it? You add it to SPSS interface, and then you'll be doing a lot of things that is aligned with the result you are going to get when you use R programming language. So, and when you do parallel analysis, parallel analysis actually suggested 3 factors, and then the SPSS suggested 4. Are you getting my point? So the onus lies on you to say that, okay, yes, I'm following this, or I'm following that. But the good thing is that for 2, you have justification for that, because it's a function of the software you use. Or are you getting my point? So that's my position on that. Thank you. Is there any question before I proceed? Okay, in absence of that, now that we have our structure, so the next thing is we need to confirm this structure. And the appropriate things to do is to develop new survey, then you take it back to the field for the second administration. So you take it back to the field, and then you re-administer this based on the structure that you've identified now. And then some scholars says you need to administer it to even larger population. You need large sample size compared to the first one. And then there are some scholars that, to avoid going to the field twice, what they normally do is that first administration, they will make sure that they administer it to a very large sample size. So what they normally do, when they come back, they will now divide the data set into two. They will call it N1, N2. So they will use N1 for exploratory factor analysis, and then the N2, they will use it for confirmatory factor analysis. Are you getting my point? So now, please let's note the items that are loaded on each of the factors. Here we have item 8, this and that. Are you getting my point? So that we, when we get to the emails, then we'll make use of this for confirmatory factor analysis. And then also, before we go, we can also establish, the Cronbach alpha for reliability, because it's also very important. You can establish the reliability for each of the constructs. Now, we have 4 constructs, so you need to establish the reliability for each of them. Don't just give an overall reliability for the entire scale. No, give the reliability for each of subscales, then give the reliability index for the entire scale. However, the use of Cronbach alpha has been criticized as a form of way to establish the measurement, but people are still using it. Even in the literature, there are so many that have used this and they are still using it. Are you getting my point? So I will not say no or yes, because people are saying, but Cronbach himself has come out and said, no, this method is faulty. It underestimates the reliability of a particular scale. And that's why now people are using McDonald omega reliability, which most people call it composite reliability. We have relief beta, we have high cluster method that you can use. Ordinal data, ordinal alpha reliability also, you can use that to determine the reliability of the scale. Yes, Mansour Bello, you raise up your hand. You
Yes,
have
sir.
question? Yes, please go ahead.
Using Cronbach alpha, Cronbach alpha is not only for continuous data.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what I said earlier, that when you establish what is reliability, using SPSS, because SPSS was actually developed to handle continuous data. Are you getting my point? So if your data, if it is continuous in nature, fine, you can use SPSS to establish the reliability. No one will question you. Are you getting my point? But I'm saying that this has been a fallacy. Are you getting my point? That a lot of researchers have, committed, even in the literature. They don't mind the nature of the data they are using. They will just say, okay, I want to establish reliability, and then they go to SPSS, they put it, and they establish the reliability. And for some of you that you are conversant with Smart PLS, Smart PLS is going to generate both the Cronbach alpha and the McDonald omega reliability, which is composite reliability. And when you look at the two values, you will see that the Cronbach alpha values is always, underestimated. And that is to tell you that, yes, there is issue with what the Cronbach alpha. But most times we present the two just to see that there is difference when you use either when you use Chromebase Java and that of McDonald or Omega. Yes, Ayodele?
But sir,
Okay, Mansur, please go ahead.
instead of since the factor analysis can take care of both continuous data and the categorical data, I think since SPSS can do the both confirmatory factor and exploratory factor, is it okay for you to use factor analysis in establishing your reliability, since factor analysis can take care of both quantitative values and categorical?
Yes, of course. I'm going to show you how you establish what is it called, composite reliability, using when we get to confirmatory factor analysis, because we are going to make use of the loadings there to establish the composite reliability. But I'm just saying, just for knowledge sake, that because someone can come and say that, no, why not establish the Chromebase Alpha and and all that, since that is a function that can do that on SPSS. But I'm just telling you the limitation,
Yeah.
that underline that function on SPSS. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ayodele.
Thank you very much. My question has to do with the still on alpha Chromebase.
Okay.
Yeah, if somebody wants to do a reliability test, I know I used to know a procedure where the reliability test is not done on the entire data set. In the process of administering questionnaire, a smaller subset of the sample population is chosen, where data is collected from that smaller subset, and the reliability test is carried out on the data generated from there before the person proceeds to sample a larger population based on the result obtained from the smaller subset that was sampled. So the question now is, should the reliability test be done on the entire data set after all the samples have been collected, or it should be done only first on a subset of the population that was sampled? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There's when you develop a new scale like this, first I talked about inductive and deductive approach, whereby you developed a pool of items, and you try to, after developing it, you do a kind of maybe phase validity, you do content validity, even the reliability you talked about, by what is it called, the pilot testing. So you can pilot test that that initial generated, developed pool of items. Are you getting my point? So that you will see how those items, behaves. Probably you need to remove this, you need to restructure this, you need to, maybe there is ambiguity, and so on and so forth. Probably double barrel way of, developing that the particular items, you have to separate it, and so on and so forth. So at pilot testing stage, you can actually do some of those things. Are you getting my point? Yeah. So when you are now done, you can now say, yes, I can take this, to the feed. That is the first approach. Another approach, because you are developing, is a new skill that you develop. After developing it, and then you give it to experts to look at it in terms of content, in terms of base validity, and so on and so forth, and you restructure it like that. Then you take it to the field. So when you take it to the field, if you are administering it to a large sample size, or probably you want to go to the field second time after the exploratory factor analysis, so that at exploratory factor analysis, you are able to pull out those items that are not, effective. They are not correlated with other rest of the items at that point. So the new one you are now, the structured one that you are now taking to the field second time is a refined items at that level. So in terms of reliability, in terms of this, in terms of that, you've done everything at that level. So it depends on your level of understanding and to what extent you want to establish rigor in what you are doing.
Okay.
And for most of reputable journals, what they are looking for is rigor. Is there
Okay.
rigor in what you are doing? Are you contributing to knowledge? Are you getting my point? So it
Yeah.
depends on your level of understanding. Thank you.
Okay. Are both approaches acceptable scientifically?
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Please, I have another question.
Okay.
It's actually a contribution. Now that this alpha crumbatch is now being called into question, is there an effort being made by statisticians to actually enlighten people about the flaw in the use of this alpha crumbatch and letting people know other measures that are better than alpha crumbatch?
Yes, thank you. They said readers are leaders. And as an academia, the more you read, the more you see. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
So it boils down on researchers to read because there are a lot in the literature. Even myself that I'm talking, I've written something in this area. Are you getting my point? So, and
Yes.
even Cronbach himself, when you read Cronbach 1991 and Cronbach 2004, you will see he criticized this Cronbach Java, extensively, and he advised researchers to stop using it, that there is a lot of, flaw in this approach. And he said that the first time he wrote the article, I think in 1991 or so, that he was on sick bed when he wrote that article. You understand? So it depends on, you try to change the existing position or method. But, because some researchers are very comfortable in using SPSS, to establish this reliability of a thing, they don't want to shift position. Are you getting my? They don't want to shift
Yeah.
position. So, and then even there was a time we argued this in one of our seminars, and one professor was saying, "No, this is what we are used to. You cannot just come now and say that this is not correct. This is that." But learning is continuous,
Yeah.
and we need to keep on updating ourselves on the trend, and the evolution and the dynamics, in the research space. Things are changing. Research is dynamic. You don't have to be stagnant and say, yes, this is what you've known in the last 10 years. Things are changing every day. People are coming up with different things. So you need to keep yourself, abreast of some of these new developments so that you can be relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah. So any other question before I proceed? Okay, in absence of that, then let's move to Amos. I don't know the software you are using. I'm using Amos 23. There are 24, 25, 26 version now. Are you getting my point? But for me, I'm using I'm using 23. So my Amos is embedded in this because it's the same manufacturer company, which is IBM, that developed Amos and SPSS, so it's embedded. So for me to work on my Amos, I will just go to Analyze, and then I will click on IBM SPSS Amos. But if yours is not there, probably it's separate like this. Can you see it? This is the icon. So I can just click on this, and then I open my Amos. But the disadvantage here is that you still need to manually import the data into the SPSS, I mean, into the Amos environment. So let me just quickly show you how to do the importation for the benefit of those that have independent Amos. So what you will do once you open and you want to, you come here, you see select data files. So you click on select data files, then you check file name, you click on file name, So when you get to the file name, you look at where you save your data. I saved mine on desktop. So I'll go to my desktop. I name it client data. So this is client data. Then I will click on open. So after that, when you see group 1 client data, then variable value number, we have 360. It means the data has been imported successfully. Then you click OK. So when you click OK, the data is here. So to check the data, whether it has been successfully imported or not, so you come to this place and then you see list variables in the data set. You check. Then when you check, can you see it? So you will see the variables there. These are the variables in the data set. So that's for the benefit of those that have what is it called it? SPSS in independent one. So, but for others that the SPSS, the AMOS embedded in the SPSS, just click on analyze, and then you click on IBM SPSS. So once you do this, automatically it has captured all the data sets here. So can you see the difference between the two? Yeah, now let me close this. I don't know why I have so many. Let me check again the data there. Oh, okay, no, it's not there. So let me open the data now from here. So this is the AMOS, what is it called it? Environment. And when you look at this interface, it looks like a portrait. So the first thing I normally do is I will change the interface from portrait to landscape, especially when I have a very large model, complex model to build. So what I normally do, I will come to view, then you come to interface properties. Then when you get to interface properties, you see paper size, which is portrait letter, then then you click on landscape A4. So then after that you apply. When you apply, what do you see? You can see that the interface has changed from the portrait A4 to landscape A4, and then it gives you more space to do whatever you want to do. Now, the next thing is to we have different tools here. For some of you that you are conversant with what is the name of this tool in MS Word? What is it called? We normally use that. So for drawing and all that, you see the tools beside the page. So these are the tools we are going to use. We'll pick it and then we use it appropriately for whatever we want to use it for. Then this is rectangle. This is which is majorly used to represent our observed variables, that is our items. We have this to represent the unobservable, which is the latent, the construct, and then we use this one to draw the latent variable and to add the indicators to each of them. And don't forget, last 2 weeks I talked about probably if you are modeling your measurement model as either formative or reflective, yeah. But basically, reflective is mostly common. So now we have our factors, which is 4 factors, and then to build our model now for confirmatory factor analysis. So what we are going to do, just click here. Can you see it? So when you click it, so come to this place and then just click. So as you are clicking, it's going to bring out the indicators. So how many indicators do we have for the first factor? We have 5. Then we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as you are pressing it, then it will be, coming out. So this is where you put the name of the construct. These are your manifest variables, or you call them observed variables, and our indicators. Then we have the error terms here. So we have another one, the second factor, which is also 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have another one, factor 3, which is also 5. We have, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6, then we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. So you return it when you are done. Then we need to, make it better. So to move it, what we normally do is, you see this preserve symmetrics. So when you click on preserve symmetrics and then you click here at the same time, so this will allow you to move each of the constructs. Can you see it? You can move it anyhow because you've preserved it. Can you see it? Or probably you want to rearrange it somewhere or so, you are free to do it. Can you see it? It depends on what you want to achieve, how you want your model to look like, So you can do anything you want to it. So when you are done, you'll return it. Then you look at this. At times, some reviewer will say this is blurred, that you need to make it more clearer or something. So what you will do, just right click, then you see object properties. Then when you get object properties, come to colors. You click on colors, then you see fill color. Under the fill color now, you see that we have a pink or something. So here, change it to white. White. Then here also change it to white. Then okay. Can you see it? It has changed to what? To white. So click here also, you can do the same. White. Or probably you want to change it to another color aside from white, but white is better because they will see what you want to do very well. Trying to change the colors. Oh, we are done. Ish. Okay. So now let's say I want to expand this. So this one is called select one object at a time. So when you click on select, just click on it, it will change to blue. Can you see it? Just to make it more better. And at the end of the day, you can use this to change the shape. So that when you are changing the shape, you can see that the shape will change automatically for all of them because already you've selected them. So as you are doing it, it will affect all of them. Can you see it? So when you have that, let me return it. Then you deselect. You click here to deselect. Then here, let's name this one. You click on object properties again. Then you come to test. So this is where you will write the name of your construct. It depends on what you want to name it. But let's assume that this is our F1, which is the first construct. F1, and then we can also bold it. When you click on bold, you see bold italic. So if you want to bold it, you click on bold. Are you getting my point? F1, then F2, you also bold it so that it's rhyme. Then F3, F3. And if you want to increase this font size, you can increase it here. Just increase, it depends on the size you want to. And then we have F4. Then that's all. So we've labeled the name of the construct. So you can put probably if your F1, if you give it passion, you write passion there. If F2, you give it interest, you write interest. If F3, you give it engagement. If F4, you give it compassionate, you write it there. Then the next thing is probably you might want to also, I'm coming. Or you want to rotate this. Are you getting my point? You can use this to rotate the indicators. Can you see it? So it depends on what you like to achieve. So you can rotate anyhow. Then also if you, maybe this, you want to expand this also, then what you will do is you will just select them and then you come to change the shape, and then you can expand it. Can you see it? So you can expand, depends on what you want to achieve. So you can do a lot of things, to make it more beautiful and, so, and then the same way, even this one, probably you want to make it to go up. So you can do that. All these things that we are doing manually also, James Gaskin also, come up with some plugins that you can use that will just copy the structure and then into the Amos, and then it's going to plot it automatically rather than using it manually. But unfortunately, I don't know, the plugin is not working on it is called, what is it called it? Pattern matrix builder or something. So you can use that. So once you are done with, let me deselect this. You are done. So the next thing is to bring your variables. So you have to bring the variables in. So for F1, we have item 7 loaded under F1. So you bring it here, item 7. We also have item 8, item 10, item 10. We have item 9. We have item 6. We have item 11. So these are the, hello? Is someone talking? Okay. So we move to second factor. We have item 15, item 13, item 16, item 12, item 14. Then we'll move to the third one. We have item 5, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 1. Yeah. Then the last one, we have item 20, item 19, item 21, 18, and 17. So we successfully moved all the items to each of the factors. So the next thing is we need to put the error terms. So instead of writing the error terms one after the other, then you can come to plugin and then you will see name unobserved variables. Are you getting my point? So click on name unobserved variables, so automatically it's going to generate the error terms. So you see F1, F2, F3, yeah, like this. Are you getting my point? So then the next thing is to now do what I call, you need to covariate them. That's 1 will covariate to 2, will covariate to 3, covariate with 4, then 2 will covariate with 3, and then 2 will covariate with 4. Because we want to check we want to confirm the structure now. So you click on this. This is covariance. So which is double-headed. So once you click on it, F1 to 2, then F1 to 3, F1 to 4, F2 covariate with F3, F2 also covariate with F4, and F3 covariate with F4. So these are the possible covariance that exist. Then to make it more, to look more neat, so you'll use these two, touch up a variable. So you click on touch up a variable, then tool. So you click on it, so it will arrange it and look, better. Can you see it? And then if I decide to also move, probably I want to move it. Can you see it? Yeah, I still want to do that. Yeah. So we have this now. Now this is the covariate, and then we build our model, which is more of measurement model, for the structure, the four structures that we identified at the exploratory factor analysis stage. So the next thing to do now is you come to view, then you come to analysis properties. Click on analysis properties. Then here, we have different methods that you can use, from maximum likelihood, generalized least square method to estimate the parameters. And then we have the or weighted least square, and so on and so forth. So, but by default, it's maximum likelihood. We can also check to do a kind of comparison, between these different methods or estimation as well. Then also here, estimate means an intercept. So when you have missing data, when you have missingness in your data, then you can also check this. When you check this, Amos has inbuilt facilities, imputation method that I was going to use to undo all the missing values. So you can just check this one. But in this case, we don't have any missing values. So after that, then you move to output. So when you get to output, just check by default, minimization history is there by default. Then check standardized estimate. Probably you can check square, multiple correlations. Then we need the modification indices in case if our fit is not okay, we can modify it. And then, I talked about normality assumption the other time. So you can do that on Amos here. So you can test for normality and outliers. So you check this. So once you are done, just close it. Then the next thing is to save. So you come to save. Save the current part. Can you see it? Save the current part. So you click on save. So when you click on save, then you I'm coming. Let me save here. So let me just say client Amos. Just KA Amos. So I click on save. Then the next thing is to run the analysis. So what you will do, you will come here, you will see calculate estimates, then you click on estimate. So when you click on estimate, you will see it has run successfully. If it runs successfully, you see this side. Can you see it? The two of them, will be highlighted. Can you see? It's bold. But if it doesn't, especially this one, will not bold as this. So then what you will need to do to see the estimate, then you have to click this one. Can you see? Fill the output path diagram. So you click here. So when you click here, the estimate you will see here, this is the covariance, the correlation between F1 and the F3 is 0.16, all these ones, they are the covariates. Are you getting my point? Then because we are going to use the standardized estimate because the values you see here under the loadings here, they are what unstandardized estimate. So you see, then you click on standardized estimate here. So when you click on standardized estimate, can you see that the values have changed? Are you guys? So if you want to copy this, probably you want to copy this for your to your Microsoft Word. You understand? What you will do is just come here and then you click on here. Can you see it? This, you see, copy the path diagram to the clipboard. So just click on it, then go to Microsoft Word, MS Word, and then you have, I'm coming. So when you get to Microsoft Word, then you just paste Control P. Can you see it? So you have your model. So that you can name it a measurement model or CFA, Then let's go back. So after this, you need to look at the result. We'll check our model fit, if it is appropriate or not. So to do that, you go to field test. Can you see it? Field test. You click on field test. Excuse me. So when you click on field test, you are going to have this interface where you have the computation of degree of freedom, number of these samples, degree of freedoms, minimum was achieved, chi-square value, degree of freedom, and then probability level. And then we have what we call, I think overestimated or underestimated. If it is greater than 0, I mean the degree of freedom. If it's greater than 0, then it's overestimated. If it is below, then it's underestimated. And if it is 0, it means it's just estimated. So most times we always want our degree of freedom to be overestimated. Now, you see model fit. Okay, before we go to model fit, let's check the assessment of normality. You click on normality. This is the normality. Can you see it? And then we have the minimum, maximum, skewness, critical ratio, kurtosis, and critical ratio for it. So you can present this as a form of method used to establish your normality. So using the skewness and what is it called it, and the kurtosis. And this one is more of univariate approach. And then some scholars says that the values for the skewness should range between -2 to +2, and the values for the kurtosis should be from -7 to +7. Some say from -10 to +10. So when you look at the values here, if they fall within the range, then you can conclude that the data follows a univariate normal distribution. And if it is multivariate, we normally use this Malanobis distance method. So this is Malanobis distance method, which look at the observation factors from the centroid. So how do we establish this? What we normally do is for multivariate, your P1 and P2, if it is 0, 0, so it means that that particular item, you need to remove it from the rest of the item. You need to remove it. And then when you look at P1, P2 here, this is 0, 0, which falls under item 21. This one is item 331, a respondent observation number. So it falls under respondent 21, respondent 331, which is 0, 0. But when you look at this, once you have, this one is 0.01 here and 0.00, you can retain this one. Are you getting my? But when you have 0, 0 in both sides, then it has violated the multivariate normality assumption using Malanobis distance method. So let's go to the estimate. This is the estimate, and we don't really need this for now. And then this is the standardized regression weight for each of the items, and these are like the item loadings, or you call it factor loadings for each of the items. These are loadings, and when you look at the loadings, I think it loaded very well. Each of them, they are all above 0.60, which is very good. Then let's go to model fit to check if it fits well or not. So when you come here, we have the model fit summary, we have the SIM, we have the RMR, which is, we have the GFI, goodness fit index, comparative fit index, norm fit index, Tucker-Lewis fit index, and so on and so forth. So for this one, we have number of parameter 48, we have the SIM, and we have the degree of freedom. And this one, if you remember, it's the suggestion is that it's what is it called it? It must not exceed it must less than 3.0, right? So some say 2.5, some scholars say 2.5, some say 3.0, and all that. So when you look at this, it's actually above, the benchmark of the benchmark recommended by scholars. So this is around the 3.379. And how do they arrive at this? So you have to divide the SIM, divided by the degree of freedom. That will give you this. And then they even suggested that the p-value should not be significant. Are you getting my point? So the p-value should not be significant. However, I've seen several studies that the p-value will be significant, but the same divided by the degree of freedom will fall within the cutoff. So it's also acceptable. So when you look at RMR, we have 0.049, which is fine because it should not exceed 0.06 or 0.08. The GFI 0.855 is not too fine. At least it should be above 0.90, but 0.95 is excellent. This is adjusted goodness of fit index is 0.817. It's not too good as well. The same way with PGFI, it's not too good. The non-fit index 8.57 is below 0.9. It's not too good. RFI also, IFI, Tokaliwi, CFI, and all that. So let's check the overall index, which is the root mean square error of approximation. So we use root mean square error of approximation also, which is, well, this is 0.081. Some scholars say 0.08, some say 0.06, that your root mean square error should not be greater than 0.06, some say 0.08. And I want to tell you that when you are reporting your root mean square error, please also report the confidence interval, the lower confidence interval and the high confidence interval of these two. Is very important that you include it when you are reporting the root mean square error so that we know the range. Okay, because the one you have here is not the exact. Are you getting my point? So we will know the range that the root mean square error of approximation actually, for. So when you look at this, you will see that we still need to do some check our modification indices, because some of the indices here, fell below the requirement. At least if you are from 0.90 and above, I think it's okay, it's acceptable, though it's not excellent. If you have 0.95, it's fine. So let's check that. I'm coming. Okay, yes, so we go to modification indices. Can you see modification indices? So you click on modification indices. So when you get to modification indices, we have the our modification indices values, which is MI per changes, and then the error square based on each of the items and all that. So what you are looking for here is look for the error square, error term, not error square. Look at the error terms, that is very, very high. Those error terms are very, very high. So you have to identify those error terms. Then after that you correlate them, and then you rerun the analysis to see whether the fit indices will be improved or not. So when we look at this, we have let's look at this. We have 1112, which is around 32.552, is on high side. Let's note that we have E11, E12, which is on high side. Also 32. Okay, let's also look at this. Error 7 and 9 is also very high, around 40. Error 6 and 10, 6 and 10 also is very high, 47. 6, 8, error 6 and error 8 also is very high. Then I think that's all. So let's go back to our model. Then to do that, what you have to do, you have to click on this to go back to the normal initial model. This one, you click on it. So when you click on it, it will go back to the initial model. So we need to look at these, our error terms. And the error time is started from the, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And another thing is, if you want to covariate, you cannot covariate from here to here. It's wrong. Or you covariate from this factor to another factor. No, it's wrong. Or you want to covariate from here to here. No. You can only covariate, within a particular construct, or let me say items, that measured that construct. So here we have, let's look at 11, 12. This is 11 and 12. So you can covariate it, 11, 12. We have 7 and 9, error 7 and 9. They belong to the same here, so you covariate that. 6 and 10. 6 and 10. Then 6 and 8. So these are the 4. Then we'll return it. Let's use touch-up to do it well. Then once you are done, you will come back to save the current part. You have to save it again. So you click on save. So after saving it, then you hit the calculate estimate. So we've calculated it successfully. Then you hit this button, and then let's go and check. Let's go and check the results. Then model fit, that's where our interest. Yes, can you see now? I think under the C mean, it has improved drastically from 3.3 something to 2.182, which actually falls within the benchmark because it was less than or equals to 3 or so. Like I presented those at a benchmark last time. Then we have though the p-value is not significant, which it's not supposed to be significant, but since the same divided by degree of freedom is fall within the accepted range, I think is fine. We can leave it. Then we look at our GFI. It has increased also. This 0.905, which is good. AGFI 0.78 is not too fine. PGFI is not also too fine. Our NFI has improved to 9.09. IFI has improved. TLI has improved. CFI has also improved. And let's check our root mean square error of approximation is also improved from 0.081 before to 0.057, which has fall within the benchmark. So, but at the same time, let's check for our modification indices if there is still any outrageous MI. Looking at it now, I think it's fine. Let me check. I think it's fine now. I didn't see any. Okay, except for 1719. 1719. 1719. Yeah. 1719. Yes, except for 1719. So which is a little bit also high. So let's covariate it and let's see what our fit index is going to look like. 1719, this 1719. Yeah. Then we save it, we'll save it again, then we'll run it. So let's go and check. Yeah, this has even improved more. Yeah, this one improved. Our GFI also increased. Though EGFI still is 0.833, PGFI this, all these are okay. Yes. And the root mean square error is fantastic, still okay. So I think at this juncture, we can conclude that the confirmatory factor analysis, has met all the indices. So you need to report all these indices, the chi-square, the same, the degree of freedom, and then not all these indices that I normally report GFI, NFI, TLI, and CFI. Then I will report the root mean square error of approximation, and then report the 90% confidence interval lower and the I, which is 0.063, they fall within the range. So this is, and then also you need to present the loadings also, which is this. You have to present this one in your report also. And for this loading, I think if you look at here et al, say from 0.6 or 0.7 and above is okay. You understand? And this is essential because when you want to determine the reliability, the validity, you need some of this loading. So if the loading is not high, so to say, then it will affect those statistics. So I think this is fine for us now. So this is how to establish confirmatory factor analysis. I don't know if there is any question before I move to the last one to check the measurement invariance of the scale. Any question?
Yes, sir, there is a question. That error
Okay,
time, is there a benchmark
yes.
for it to know, maybe you pick one that is 40 above, 30 above, 12 above. Is there a benchmark for it?
No, there is no benchmark. You just have to look into the values, and then if you know that this is too outrageous, then you remove it. And also is a function of, is your fit okay or not? Once the fits are okay, then there is no need to remove to covariate any of the error terms again.
And then also in the model fit, there we have where we are checking the NFI, the RSM. We have there are 3 columns there where we have the default model, saturated model, independent model.
Where?
Like
Which one are you?
in the model fit, where we have the
Okay, I'm coming. Let me open it. Yeah.
Yeah, the model fit where we check their yes. We have the default model, saturated model, independence model.
Yeah.
Which one are we
What?
using? Okay.
No, what this you are picking the default model. The first one, this is what you are going to report. Are you getting my point?
The default model.
Yeah, the default model, that's what you are going to report. The default model is what you will report.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Thank you. So our time is fast spent. So I'll quickly look at the multiple group confirmatory factor analysis, which is going to be the last thing I'm going to check. And this is very important and is very crucial when you have a survey. It's always good to check how the items, are you getting my point, actually, behaves, or probably if they measured apply to different groups, or there is a kind of different the way each of the subpopulation look at each of the items. So it's not enough to just do exploratory factor analysis and then do confirmatory factor analysis and say, oh, okay, everything is fine and all that. So there is still need for you to move a step forward by establish the measurement invariance, which most people also call multiple group confirmatory factor analysis. Okay, and then when you are doing measurement invariance, we have different types of measurement invariance. We have configural invariance, we have metric invariance, we have scalar invariance, we have factorial invariance, and so on and so forth. But the most important one that most journals or reviewers, always require is the metric invariance. The configural invariance is also important because, that will serve as your baseline, and the metric invariance, then you do a kind of nested model to see if there is difference, in the two or not. So we have the configural invariance. We just look at, we want to check the structure. You understand? We've identified our structure. Then we want to check whether the structure, is good for both groups. Let's say in this case, we have gender. And for gender, we have male and we have female. Are you getting my point? So we want to check whether this structure actually applicable, or let me say the structure are the same for both male and female respondents. And then for your metric invariance, you will look at the factor loading when you constrain it, so on and so on. So we are going to just look at the two, which they are very important, the scalar, the metric invariance and that of configural invariance. So how do we do that? So first, I believe you can see this. You see group number. So double click on the group number. So when you get to the group number, then you need to rename it. Let's say we have male. Are you getting my point? Then after that, click on new. So it's going to bring group 2, which is female. Then you close it. So you can see now that it has changed to male and female. Then the next thing you need to do is we need to attach the data, or let me say we need to split the data, the one for the male and the one for the female, because we call it multiple group. Are you getting my point? So even if you have more than 2, let's say you have 3, you are looking at country. If this country-wise now, maybe Malaysia, South Africa, Nigeria, and you want to check the multiple group analysis, then you can also establish that. Maybe you check Malaysia, Nigeria first, Malaysia, South Africa, then Nigeria, South Africa. Are you getting me? So it depends on what you want to achieve. But in this workshop, we want to check whether the factor structure is the same for male and female, and that's why we grouped them. So after that, you now come to this place, you see select data, you click on select data. Then here now you will see now we have male and female now, because we've grouped the data now. Then it will come to under the working, this working, click on it, click on the working, then you will see grouping variable, click on grouping variable. So what is the variable we are grouping? We are grouping gender. So you click on gender, then you click OK. So when you click OK, we want to know what is the total number of female respondents out of 360. So we need to come to group value. So when you get to group value, 1 represent male. So we have 170. So you click on 1 and then you enter OK. So you can see now that we've splitted the data now. For male now is 170 out of 360. And let me tell you, when you are doing multiple group confirmatory factor analysis like this, it's always good that the sample for male and female or rural and urban, private and public, or any other variables that you are using, make sure that they are not too far apart. Maybe the male is 10, for instance, out of 360, then female is 350. So it's going to have a serious implication on your results at the end of the day. So we are done with the male, then we move to female also, then click on grouping variable, which is gender. Then we click on OK, then group value, which is 190 for female. Then we have it like this. Then you now click on OK. Are we together? So the next thing that we need to do, since it's a multiple group what is it called, analysis that we are doing. So you come here, can you see it? This is multiple group analysis, can you see it? So you click on it. So when you click on it, this will pop up. Don't just click on OK. Click on OK. So when you check on OK, you will see different parameter subsets here, model. So by default, just leave it as it is. So just click on OK also. So when you click on OK, what do you see? You can see that these have changed. So you see the covariance now, CC2, 1, CC3, 1, CC4, 1. So the 1 is telling you that you are dealing with male first. Can you see it? So when you click on female now, it's going to change to 2. Can you see? So you have model for male, you have model for female. So because you are doing multiple group analysis. So now we are looking or want to establish the configurer invariance, which we are going to unconstrain. You will unconstrain this. So for configurer invariance, you come here, can you see it? You double click on unconstrained. So, and when you look at parameter constraint, do you have anything here? No. Then you click on close. Then after that, just click on the save, then calculate. Yes, it has calculated. Then you click here as we normally do, which because we want the standardized estimate. So after that, so this is, okay, this is for male, this is the male model. Then when you click on female, this is for female. Are you getting my point? So let's go and check the, what is it called? Let's view the results. Excuse me. So these are our results. Then let's go to model fits. We see. So we are looking at the unconstrained. Are you getting my point? Which is very okay. 1.766. Let's check the TLI 0.923, which is fine. CFI 9.34 is also fine. IFI is 9.35 is fine. The root mean square error is also very fine, which is 0.046. I get my point. So the implication of this is that the factor structure, show that for both group, they are what? they are the same for both groups. That is, there is no difference in terms of factor. The pattern of the structure is the same thing, right? And it's consistent across, the two groups, the male and female. Are you getting my point? So that is the configural invariance, which is more or less like our baseline model. Then let's go back. And if this did not, fulfill all the benchmark, you still have to come to model fit, what is it called it? Multiplication indices to check if there is any other, when you look at this one, this is 22, which is high, but it's 4 to 15. So they are not on the same page. So you cannot correlate 4 and 15. So, but with the current indices that we have, I think we can conclude that our data has met the configural invariance. So the last one, which I'm going to talk about, is called metric invariance. And for the metric invariance, we want to look at the measurement loadings, or you call it factor loadings. But we are going to constrain this. For the configural invariance, we did not constrain, it's unconstrained. But for this one, we are going to constrain. And to do that, we just come to measurement weight. Can you see it? Measurement weight. So you double click on measurement weight. So and then under the parameter constraint, you see we've constrained our parameters here. Then you click on close. Then after that, just save. Then after save, then you calculate also. It's run successfully. And then to know whether the data, you understand, image met the what is it called? The metric invariance. The measurement weight must not be significant. It must not be significant. If it is significant, then it has violated, that particular method. So let's check. We'll go to field test. Then you go to model fit. So when you get to model fit, you will see, where is it? Okay, no, sorry. You go to model comparison. Are you getting my point? Model comparison. Because it's now comparing it with the baseline model. So it's a nested model. So you go to model comparison. So when you get to model comparison, we look for measurement model. Are you getting my point? And it must not be significant. So when you look at the measurement weight now, you see 0.465, which is greater than 0.05. So this is not significant. So the implication is that there is, what is it called? The data is actually, meets the invariance, metric invariance assumption, whereby the factor loading for both male and female are what? They are the same. But ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to stop. Like I said, there are other invariants, but they are not as important as all these ones that we've looked into. We have a scalar invariance, which we're going to compare the means across groups. And then we have the factor variance. And then the last one, I think, is structural invariance. So these are the 5 types of invariance that we have. So thank you very much for your time. I welcome questions, contributions. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Anyokunle. Do you have any question? Question?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Firstly, I want to commend Dr. Ayowale for this comprehensive lecture this afternoon on all this method of analysis. In fact, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know, after the explorative and the, what's it called, the confirmatory, I'm already overwhelmed. I don't even know what to do because the thing is much. So my question now is that, does all this method of analysis, either explorative, confirmatory, metric, all this, is it necessary for all survey data? That means all the data collected through survey? Or how do we know when to use this method of analysis? Then another thing I want to ask is, the tables are many. How do we know which of the tables to present? Because you cannot present all these things in a paper. When you are when you want to publish a paper, they will tell, sometimes they will tell you your paper should not be more than 12 pages. It should not be more than 15 pages plus references, no more than 18 pages. So how do we know which of the tables, to present? Then I also want to ask, maybe if you have published a paper using this method of analysis, maybe you can drop it on the group so that we can look at it. How, the step-by-step, the way you present your analysis, so that we can also learn from it. So that's what I want to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that beautiful question. First, when you have a survey, either you developed a new scale or existing scale, and you have demographic variables like this, most times it's always good that you move a step further. Don't just stop, especially even for some of us that we are used to structural equation modeling very well, even without establishing the exploratory factor analysis, when you adopted an existing instrument, and then such instrument, they've classified the constructs. Are you getting my point? We just administer, and then we take it to SEM. We establish the validity, reliability, factor loadings, and so on and so forth. And then probably we check the direct, indirect, total effect, and all sorts of things. So we can also say, okay, yes, let me check multiple group analysis to see how this particular survey or scale, function, across different groups of my respondents. So it's always good, and then even good journal outlets, reputable ones, they want to see rigor. I said something about rigor the other time. So they want to see rigor in what you are doing. So everything you know that you can do, put it there. Put it there. And you mention of number of words, restriction by some journals, and so on and so forth. Yes, I've encountered such before. So what I normally do is after you finish writing your paper, then make sure that you reduce everything to the requirement of the journal, submit it, and I'm very sure by the time it comes back from peer review, the reviewers will still ask some of those things that you've removed. So at the level of attending to the reviewers' comments, this is where you will now, provided all those things that you've removed. And it happens to me that was one of my paper in Emirate on scale development like this. They told us, oh, it must not exceed 6,000 something words. I reduced it. And when it came back from peer review, virtually everything that I removed, the reviewers requested for it. So I was just copying and then putting it back. And at the end of the day, by the time I submitted, the thing was around 11,000 plus from 6,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And after that, they sent it back to the reviewers, and the reviewers still requested me to do further analysis of some things that I know this paper is okay. You cannot just leave this one out. Why not do this? so that you will not give room for limitation. Are you
Yeah.
getting my point? They sent the paper back to me. I did another analysis and it increased to around 15 or 16,000. Are you getting my point? And this is a journal that the requirement is 6,000
6,000.
words. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
So also, this is another one that I just finished. It's under review
Okay.
now. And when you check this, it's about 17,229 words.
Mm.
It's a scale development also. And when you look at, I want to show you, yes, you talked about the indices that we have different tables, which of those indices we are going to
Represented.
present. So when you look at, okay, this one is not, is another thing. Yes. So when you look at this now,
Yeah.
this is also under confirmatory factor analysis, though the paper is under
Yes.
review, so I cannot share the paper with you, but when
Okay.
it's published, I'm going to share it anyway. So
Okay.
we have this, and then under the confirmatory factor analysis, we don't just check the correlated single, what is it called, 4 factors like we did. So what I did was to check for single factor model correlated. We have 9 factors in this study after the exploratory factor analysis and all that. So I also check for hierarchical model and then by factor model. So, and these are the indices that are reported. You report the chi-square, degree of freedom, the SIM divided by degree of freedom, p-value, GFI, CFI, NFI, TL, root square error of approximation, the LO90, which is confidence interval, you understand. This is what you are going to report. And then some scholars also, they will just report maybe GFI, CFI, and NFI alone. But the root mean square error of approximation is very important. The chi-square, the degree of freedom, the p-value, they are very important. You understand? So these are the indices that is expected of you to, report in your work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Anwale, for the question. I think the issue of that word count, that's just the same thing. Immediately during the review, you can always add in fact, sometimes I will be afraid that wouldn't they reject this paper, but by the time you add, so a journal that was telling you that everything must be 8,000, they will even accept 12,000. Even Dr. Anwale gave an example of 15,000. Yeah, because at that level, the reviewer requested for it, so they cannot reject it again at that level. Okay, any other question? Any other question?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello,
Question.
Dr. Ali.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Hello?
Okay, go ahead, Dr.
Yes.
Ali.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. So, Doctor, can we, the whole process you just led us through now, can we as well use smart PLS instead of using EMOS for the NF, CFA?
Yes. Before, for smart PLS is what is it called? We normally use for
Confirmatory factor analysis, CCA.
various based structural equation modeling.
Yes.
Are you getting, because all these assumptions, will not be, established, so to say, because it's not parametric in nature. But they've improved on smart PLS now that can also do covariance-based structural equation modeling. Are you getting my point? So with smart PLS also, if you have the skills, you can also do multiple group analysis. There are a lot you can even do on smart PLS.
Smart PLS, okay.
And even the
Yes.
case of I think the HCMT in smart will be used. I think the better.
Yes. Yes. Also, I want to, just that I forgot, and no one remind me. I wanted to establish the reliability, the validity before we, jump into measurement invariance. Are you getting my point? That's what I'm trying to I'm trying to see if I can, but the mistake I made was that I did not save the, I've overridden the confirmatory factor analysis we did earlier, because at that point, immediately after the confirmatory factor analysis, then I need to use that model to establish the validity, the reliability, which is heterotrait monetary ratio, or the what is it called, the Fonelaka's method, whereby you find the square root of the AVE and then look at the correlation. If the AVE, the square root of the AVE is higher, more than the correlation, between those constructs, then you can conclude that the discriminant validity has been, established. Yeah. But I forgot to, because with this model now, I cannot establish that, because I have the plugin that can do that straight away. So, but because now I've constrained some of the parameters here, so it will not work. Yeah, it will not work.
Any other question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Yonwale, for a very beautiful presentation this morning. Thank you so much. Sir, I have a little question, sir. I don't know if we have a secondary source of data. Can we run them using Smart PLS?
Yes, of course. If you have secondary data, you can also use Smart PLS. You can use AMOS also. So where you understand the variables in the data set, so either primary or secondary data, you can use anyone.
Okay. So thank you, sir.
But,
So
but sir, if you are using, okay, continue, Dr.
Okay, I want to solicit that you should not forget the software that he promised to send to us after this class.
Okay. I will get in touch with the organizer, and then he's going to do the needful.
Okay. Many thanks, sir. Many thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hello, sir. Yes, hello, sir. In addition, please, is it possible that after the exploratory factor analysis, no factor is determined? At that situation, what do you do?
It's not possible that you will do exploratory factor analysis and the no factor is not. So it means probably the items we developed, did not measure that concept that you intend to measure. So that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But if those items are actually measuring what you purport to measure, then definitely the exploratory factor analysis is going to determine
some factors.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. I think we have come to the end of the program. Dr. Anyawale, we really thank you. We invited you and you came all over from South Africa. Thanks. At least for giving us an interesting and thought-provoking lectures. Then we equally appreciate our participants that are here present. As we have informed us, we are going to follow up. There will be a follow-up activities on the group chat. So, and equally, we are going to send our certificate via the email. The recording will be provided before the end of today. So, and please let us also subscribe to our YouTube channel and also help us to share some of the videos that are there. Okay. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ayewale.
Hello, Dr. Kule. I think I will need to private chat you if you do. I would like to know if you do private courses on this data analysis that young ones can subscribe, people that don't have the foundational knowledge. Do you have